Hi, everybody. I'm Dennis Prager. Wednesday. What's today? January 5th. Yeah. So what's going to happen tomorrow? The anniversary of the so-called insurrection, the only insurrection in modern history where the insurrectors or the insurrectionists were unarmed. Very poorly planned insurrection, got to say that. So after nearly a year of destruction by left-wing mobs all over the country in every big city, burnings of police departments, people dead, beaten, and takeovers of areas which are then called autonomous zones. After all of that, the only thing that the media talk about is the insurrection. It's like the thugs in Germany who use the Reichstag fire to take more power. Anything. Remember, the left will use anything to gain more power and to give more power to central authority. COVID is the best example. The amount of authority given to people, they can tell you can't open your store. You can't eat in a restaurant. They can tell you that. That's unprecedented power over American citizens, to the best of my knowledge. They will shut you up. I just finished Alex Berenson's book, Pandemia, sorry. Thank you. Wrong emic. I did the epidemic, not pandemic. In April of 2020, I said it was the greatest mistake in history, the universal lockdown. I turned out to be right. And on the anniversary of my declaration of that, I will retweet my tweet. The damage done is greater than I even predicted, especially to children. What has been done to children is calculated child abuse, the robbing of children of their childhoods for no reason. I repeat, no reason. To see hysteria take over much of the world and nearly every one of its governments is a very, very sobering experience for the human condition. To see people sheep-like walk in the streets with masks, as I do here in Los Angeles, is nothing other than depressing. Ami Horowitz did such a video in Manhattan asking people who were masked, why do you wear your masks? You want to do me a favor, Sean? Pull up that video of Ami Horowitz, it's a few months ago, in Manhattan asking people why they're wearing masks. And the answers that they received. I'll have more on this in a moment because a truly courageous professor. Oh, here we go. Go on.
Some people are still wearing their masks outside who are fully vaccinated, even though the science says they don't have to. Let's find out why.
So that's literally crickets.
Because it's been so long. Yeah.
Social anxiety.
Virtually impossible to get coronavirus outside while you're vaccinated. Does that change your thought process at all?
Not really. I just keep hearing. I personally still wouldn't want to take the risk anyway, and I don't trust anyone else, so I'm just doing it for mine.
Even if the science said it was like basically impossible, it still doesn't matter?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
No matter what.
Virtually impossible to get the coronavirus if you're vaccinated or to spread it while you're outside. Does that change your thought at all?
I know that. But it also sets an example, physical example.
Because you almost feel like almost a compulsion to do it. You've been doing it for so long.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Sean. I appreciate it. Everybody in my studio thanks you. There was not a coherent answer. I feel better. Everybody does it. I don't know why. Just I want to do it. People don't understand that a big price is paid in society for people having their face covered. It's a veil. People think that it's a wonderful thing that there are so many women veiled in Muslim countries. Is that a model for us? I bet you most of those people interviewed went to college. So I was about to tell you something that has nothing to do with the COVID or the news. A personal experience, because I figure I could be a mouthpiece for many people, because I have a microphone and obviously most people do not. I was supposed to get a package, a very important package, by the way, yesterday, and UPS sends me a notice that the package was delivered. They tell the time, and they have something called proof of delivery. What's the proof of delivery? That the person who delivered it says it's left on the porch. That's the proof of delivery. Is that a riot? Now, I'm told that Amazon delivery, and I always try to boost the competitors to Amazon because I don't want one company to dominate everything. But I'm told that Amazon, under proof of delivery, shows you a picture of the package. That's proof of delivery. Proof of delivery left on porch. That's a joke. Is that a UPS joke? Anyway, I never received it. So if he left it on a porch, the delivery person, it wasn't my porch. So the proof of delivery is non-existent. There is no proof of delivery. It wasn't delivered, and there's no proof. But it's called proof of delivery. Maybe somebody who works for UPS is listening, can explain that. We live in a world where there's such fakery, from corporations to media, government. It's just fakery. Can you contact UPS and tell them that they should ask the person who delivered it? I realized this immediately. I've been awaiting this as an important package. You can't say, ask the driver where he left it. I can find this driver. I don't know, I can't think of an analogy. I could find a needle in a haystack more rapidly than I could find the driver who claims proof of delivery. I wonder if that has happened to any of you. It's a very interesting thing that people put up with fakery so much. When I read ads for my sponsors, there are words thrown in, and I'll be honest with you. Almost every ad says, so call my friends at, and unless they're my friend, I always drop that because I don't want to say something that isn't true. They may be a fantastic sponsor, and many are, but they're not my friends. Some are, a handful, but some aren't. Or only for my listeners, but it's not true. It's for anybody's listeners. We again, a world of fakery, like proof of delivery.
Have you ever thought of going to seminary?
Billy Graham.
Gloria a Dios, hermanos. ¿Quién está listo para ser transformado por el poder de su palabra?
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
Out of your mind if you think this family can pick you up every time you fall.
Every time I take one step forward.
Okay, I can't hear you in that.
Dylan Wright came
It's
in
one or
and
the
said
other.
He wants to fight you.
Either you or...
This is your opportunity to get back on your feet.
Okay, I'm waiting.
Okay. Get off the phone?
You gotta know who it is you're fighting for. That's the fight, Bo.
I can't believe I'm saying it, that Bo Lawson can go 10 years without a competitive fight, and here he is going toe-to-toe with the world champion. No one expected this out of him.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV.
Hello.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store
Hello?
or go to salemnow.com.
Can somebody hear me?
Don't you get tired of commercials? I hear you. Screaming?
Okay, good. I hear you too.
I don't see you, but I hear you. Are you in Vancouver?
I'm in Vancouver, and I've got the Canadian flag wrapped out in a sheep as my background.
Do you really? Will we
I
see
do.
it? Oh, hey, you are. Hey, you're looking good. That is hilarious. That's not the way I envisioned it. I envisioned.
I know.
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
I
It doesn't
couldn't
matter.
find the one you envisaged. That's
I see.
Go for this one.
Did you see my column yesterday on all the
I
countries?
did. I read it.
The
Impressive.
Canada one must have been painful. I said moral embarrassment.
Yeah.
All right, we'll review that.
More than you would ever think.
Yeah, well, we'll review that when you come on. All right, we're good. Okay, I'm going back on.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Alain.
Bye-bye.
Hey, a reminder, everybody, you could save 800 buckaroos. How do you like that? Buckaroos. Or $800. Your choice. In all seriousness, $800 a month per family. Excuse me, per year. $800 per month. I try not to read it so as to be as spontaneous as possible in my ad reading, so hence that will happen on occasion. Anyway, I signed up. I didn't believe that I could get the same services as T-Mobile, AT&T, and Verizon with Pure Talk at $30 a month for unlimited text, unlimited talk, and 6 gigabytes of data. I didn't believe it. I signed up because I will never tell you in my name. I might read an ad, but I won't say I endorse this. So I tried it. I got a phone through them. I kept my own number, so I now have 2 phones. It's very helpful. My wife uses the second phone, and it is extremely helpful. You can get phones at great discount as well. All you do is dial pound 250 and say Dennis Prager, and you get half off the first month. Pound 250 and say Dennis Prager. You hear that, Sean? Okay, everybody. Yes, it's interesting. A number of you are calling in from around the country about similar issues. Look, they deliver tens of millions of things. I understand mistakes will be made. I just find it a farce that they say proof of delivery. It's a farce. Proof of delivery is a picture of the package in front of your house. That's a proof of delivery. I'm told Amazon does that. Well, what does it take to do it? What, 10 seconds extra? 15 seconds extra? All right. Anyway. Adventures of life. Hey, you in Chicago. Listen to this one from National Review. Chicago public schools cancel in-person classes after teachers' union votes to strike. I am now convinced there is nothing damaging that the teachers can do to kids in our schools that will convince people to take their kids out of school. There is literally nothing they could do other than perhaps beat up kids. But actually, to tell you the truth, the old knuckle, what is it? They would knock their knuckles. What is the verb to be used when a teacher would not smash? Rap. Yes, rap. Thank you. Much better to rap kids' knuckles or give them a swat on the butt than to do what has been done this year. 2 years, no school. Can't see another kid's face, can't see a teacher's face, can't breathe properly. Even though more kids are dying of flu or automobile accidents than of COVID. Teachers' unions have no regard for children. None. I believe the sanitation union and the Major League Baseball, well, forget Major League Baseball, but probably. I think that any group has more regard for children than the teachers' unions and the teachers who support them. You can't get away from this, oh, I love kids, but I support the union. Please, you're lying to yourself, which is the ultimate hopeless state. You want to lie to me? Okay, don't lie to yourself. Teachers' unions have contempt for children. Utter, total contempt. They are selfish, narcissistic, money-driven morons. Morons because they aren't very deep in what they teach as well. Let's learn how crappy America is. Let's learn that you're really not a boy or a girl till you decide you're a boy or a girl. Chicago Public Schools will cancel in-person classes Wednesday. That's today. Ta-da! After the Chicago Teachers Union voted Tuesday to strike against in-person schooling and conduct remote instruction until the Omicron spike subsides. This is for all you vaccinated folks. Oh, it's the pandemic of the unvaccinated. Another lie. With 73% in favor, 73% in favor. The union's 22,000 members voted to take a remote work action starting Wednesday. General membership was asked to make a final decision on the proposal after the House of Delegates voted 555 to 77, with 88% in favor, 88%, to advance the item earlier Tuesday. The suspension of in-person teaching could continue until January 18th or until the virus infection rate in the district hits below the threshold set last year. Wow, the virus infection rate. Wow. Why? Why does that matter? CTU leaders, Chicago Teachers Union, argue that the COVID-19 variant surge is putting teachers and students at risk. That's what I mean by morons. That's moronic. You can't be a terribly bright human being if you believe that. And it would be irresponsible to return to school. Oh, it's not irresponsible to deprive kids of school for nearly 2 years. It's irresponsible to return to school because scared people teach your children. These are not adult models teaching your children. But people won't take their kids out of school. And I understand it's a big pain. Big, big pain. Tell that to your kids later. Yeah, it was too troublesome to take you out of school and homeschool you. Chicago Department of Public Health Commissioner Dr. Allison Arwady reiterated that the virus poses minimal risk to children, and therefore a reversion to school closure is unreasonable, especially given that the district plans to expand its testing regime. Wow. So the teachers shouldn't claim that it's dangerous. The hypochondriac public health commissioner in Chicago, all public health commissioners are hypochondriacs. But even, is it a man or a woman? But even this woman says there's no reason not to go back to school. Maybe teachers are lazy. Not all. All generalizations have exceptions. Maybe they're just lazy. Maybe they like this regime. They get paid anyway, right? Believe me, if they didn't get paid, if they didn't teach in person, they would be teaching in person. You can bet your child's future on that. Chicago Teachers Union. But the press will focus, especially tomorrow. They won't focus in Chicago, they'll focus on January 6th, not on the contempt teachers have for children. There is a solution. Take your kid out of there. Do everything you can, at least for the foreseeable future, to avoid the Chicago public schools.
Streaming on Salem Now.
Tesla was a genius. His most amazing discoveries thought to be written in a lost journal. Now, in the right hands, it could revolutionize the 21st century.
You can stop an earthquake. Doesn't that mean you could start one too?
That's why that notebook should never fall into the wrong hands.
Shall we stop this thing?
Save the universe!
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Judge Thomas, you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do.
I was under constant attack. You're not really black because you're not doing what we expect black people to do. This is the wrong black guy. He has to be destroyed.
So you'd still like to serve on the Supreme Court?
I'd rather die than withdraw from the process.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
This is a story of how 1 million children were placed with local foster families. Parents from all walks of life share their stories of overcoming the one-child policy by taking in orphans. At a time where there's so much negativity and cynicism, here's proof that a single leap of faith can change the world.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
How buoyed are you that Americans are finally waking up, JD?
Look, I'm very excited about what I'm seeing. Certainly in Virginia, but also in Ohio. It feels like there's a real grassroots movement brewing on the conservative movement right now. And it's, just like in times past, it's not just the politicos, it's not just the establishment folks. Sometimes not even people who are that political, but they're just very fired up about what their kids are teaching. Their kids are coming home crying, upset because they're being told that they're a bad person depending on the color of their skin, and they're just fed up about it. And I think it may very well take down Terry McAuliffe, but I certainly think it is the beginning of a movement all across this country that's going to take down a lot of Democrats all over the nation.
In the break, we were talking to my team here, and somebody said, "Well, it's neck and neck, and if Glenn loses by 3 points, that's a big deal in any other normal election." And here's the reaction I have, JD. There is no such thing as a normal election after 2016. Do we have any faith that there will be a normal election? Talk to us about the recent breaking news about Facebook and the censorship of conservatives. You've written a piece about it. How do we get back to quote unquote normal, JD?
Oh man, we got a lot of work to do. Facebook did two things basically in the 2020 election, one of which we've known about for a while. They basically censored information that was negative about Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. They promoted information that was negative about Donald Trump. And I really believe that swung the election in a really important way.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today.
I wrote a column yesterday that America remains the beacon of freedom in the Western world, despite the fact that we are far less free today than at any time in modern American history, because the left crushes freedom anywhere it takes power. From Lenin's Russia to the university. Anywhere, and there is no exception in the history of the left that they allow dissent. None. Conservatives allow dissent and liberals allow dissent. The left does not. So I wrote about how America, despite the suppression of freedom here, is freer than any other country in the West. I went down the list of restrictions, prohibitions around the world, and I wrote about Canada. I said Canada has become a moral embarrassment. I have a Canadian on Skype, in other words, on my video feed. You can watch us at Salem News Channel. Correct, Sean? There's an app. You can watch me. You can watch the show. You can watch my guests. Salem News Channel. And he is Alain Lambert, because he's French-Canadian. I put it in the French way, or Alan Lambert, as you wish. I've had him on. He's done a PragerU video, and he's a remarkable observer of life in general. And he is now in Vancouver. And if you can watch this, and you can, if you can see, is Alain there? Great. He is now in front of a mural he has made of the Canadian flag on a sheep. I had actually suggested in my column that they replace the maple leaf with a sheep, but he has done it in his way. Now, we're both laughing, so Alain, let me ask you a question, and then I want the details of what's happening in Canada. But I just want to know, you're a lifelong Canadian. You've loved it in your country. Is this shocking to you?
It is shocking to me, Dennis, and what's most troubling to me is the level of support by the population for all of the restrictions that are being imposed on us. And it's almost, being someone who doesn't think we should get vaccinated, or there's not an absolute crisis, is a little bit like being a Trump supporter in a Joe Biden rally, right? You just stay in the closet because people are scared, and people support the measures. If you look at Quebec, which is now has severe restrictions and a curfew, just recently the level of support for the provincial government was at 70%.
A curfew? Why does the curfew help prevent COVID?
Well, the government of Quebec has banned gathering. So you stay in your house with your family. You can't have visitors. And they say with a curfew, it will help ensure that people do not break that.
Oh, I see. So what do Canadians think, that America is the land of death? Is that how they dismiss our freedoms compared to Canada?
Well, I've had many discussions recently with Canadians, and as you know, a lot of people out east in Canada vacation into Florida and the U.S., and people are shocked when they hear about Florida that they go the opposite way of Canadians, as in you can't ask people if they are vaccinated. In Canada, you have to ask them if they're vaccinated. They have to show proof of vaccination, let's say to go to a restaurant, to get on an airplane. And here their restrictions are greater and greater to get more and more people vaccinated. So when they hear in Florida that you can't force people to wear a mask or get vaccinated, yeah, they do think they have it backwards.
Oh, so are they visiting Florida? Because that's a very big destination for Canadians, especially from Quebec.
That is correct. That is correct. So, as you know, they have these groups. They call them I forget what they call them, the snowbirds. Yeah, and I've read about them, and a lot of French Canadians, people from Ontario, have gone down this year to Florida.
All right, I want to get their reaction in a moment. I got to take a break. This is. Folks, you have no idea the amount of restrictions that our neighbor to the north is engaged in, and people have accepted. I'll return with Alain Lambert in a moment. In the meantime, a happy reminder as I enter another year of endorsing a miracle. I think that's a fair description of Relief Factor. Should you have back, leg, arm, any joint or muscle pain, this thing is a miracle. I use it. Almost everyone I know uses it. And here's the story. If it doesn't work in 3 weeks, they say, the manufacturer, it probably won't work. Cancel your order and try it for 3 weeks for $19.95. 800-500-8384, relieffactor.com.
Trending now on The Larry Elder Show.
Southwest was devastated this week, straight up lying, talking about it was the weather. The reason why 2,000 flights were canceled over the weekend, Friday through Sunday, and then over 300 or nearly 400 more on Monday. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of these people just called out sick. They just called out sick. They've been threatened by their employer because their employer happens to be a federal contractor. And because of that, because the federal government has their hands in Southwest Airlines, they have to comply. Now, here's the news. Nothing has happened as of yet. So technically, Southwest Airlines does not have to comply right now. They can wait for OSHA to make whatever edict they're going to lay out that has not been done thus far. But nonetheless, they suspect that it is coming down the pike. You get all these pilots, 10,000 pilots, 60 to 70% of these pilots are men and women that fought for our freedom, and we're going to kick them off the freaking job. Can you imagine the disruption? You talk about, we look at the ports in California. Can you imagine the supply chain disruption if now we can't even unload cargo ships and we're going to have fewer and fewer pilots, fewer trained pilots? I don't want to fly. I don't know if they're going to be like United Airlines and bring social justice warrior pilots on. I don't even want to fly. Listen, if you're a pilot, I don't care if you're pink, red, white. I want the best doggone pilot when I'm sitting up in that can 30,000 feet above the ground.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com.
All right, everybody. Speaking to a Canadian entrepreneur and thinker and major bicyclist, Alain Lambert, or Alain Lambert, he's a French-Canadian, now living in Vancouver. So you said you were talking to French Canadians, or other Canadians, I should say, about visiting Florida and being shocked at the freedoms there. So do they question Canada, or do they think they were jeopardizing their lives by going to Florida?
The latter. So let me give you some stats here which will shock you and your listeners. So in a very recent study, right before Christmas, a poll, so support for a vaccine passport in Canada, 80%. Mandatory vaccination, 64%. Lifting restrictions, 76% of people say no, and 52% of people are afraid of contracting the virus. And the level of support for the measures, both at the federal level and the provincial level, is such that people have this view here that the governments in Canada are doing the right thing to protect them. And so if you think about Florida, then therefore the result is that they're not doing enough. I could speak about my own personal experience and where a family member of mine from out east visited at Christmas here, and they refused to see my wife and I and the kids and their cousins because they had heard that maybe we had been sick. People are scared, Dennis.
I'm silent because I'm trying to digest. So I want to do both, your family, and I want to do first the other thing. Why would they go to Florida if they think they're jeopardizing their lives?
Right. So there are two things, right? So there are those who are there, and I should have been clearer. So, and then there are those Canadians who do not go to Florida, and their view of those who go, they are putting their life in danger.
So, not, wow, I have seen freedom and it works.
That's right. That's right. And then people here, well, I mean, listen, in August of last year, there was an election called the federal government. Prime Minister Trudeau, when he launched the election campaign, his number one thing is that he was going to prevent unvaccinated Canadians from being able to travel on airplane, boats, and trains. And when I heard that, I said, well, that's good. I think we're going to, have a change of government as a result. And he got reelected.
Mm.
And maybe if I could take a second, I've got some statistics just for your listeners so that they understand the backdrop of it all. So Canada is 38 million people, right? So it's sort of the same population as California. We have 10 provinces, you got 50 states. The life expectancy in Canada is 82 years old. As of today, there's been 30,000 deaths with or, let's call it with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And to date, 61% of those deaths are people who are 80 years old, 80 years or older.
Mm-hmm.
Quebec and Alberta, which account for 50% of the COVID deaths, they have great statistics on the government websites. And in Quebec, where they've had 11,690 deaths with COVID so far, only 255 are without comorbidities.
Mm.
In Alberta, where there's been 3,322 deaths with COVID, only 143 have been without comorbidities.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, to me, it's important, right? So why are people scared? Well, they're not scared because the data suggests that they should be scared. The media and the governments have made people scared, and we've seen just before Christmas or around Christmas, people lining up for 4, 5, 6 hours in very, very cold temperature. It is Canada after all, and it is winter, to get tested. Everybody wants to get tested. And
why do they want to get tested? If they don't have symptoms, why do they care?
You know what? I've been able to establish, because every time somebody says, I got tested, or I know somebody got tested. Why did you get tested? Why did you get tested?
Yeah.
And it's the stigma. It's the only thing I can put my finger on. Oh, I don't want to give the COVID to somebody else.
Oh, but even if somebody else is vaccinated.
Even if somebody else is vaccinated, that's right. The level of vaccination here is very high.
Of course, exactly.
So I mean, I'm looking at this. So the statistics. So this will shock you. So in the age group of 5 to 11, there's been 40% of people in that age group have received at least one shot.
What percent? It got
40%.
40% of those 5 to 11 in Canada are vaccinated?
At least one dose.
I wonder if they'll thank their parents when they get older. Maybe, I hope they do, but I do wonder. One final question, Ellen, and that is there anything analogous to the conservative movement in America? Is there anything analogous to talk radio, to all the websites in the United States, or to Fox News?
There is not.
So there's really no way, unless they access American media, for a Canadian to even hear the other side.
And that's correct. And it's one of the reasons, Dennis, as you know, that I'm a donor to Prager, because that's available in Canada, and then we need to keep supporting it, and I will keep supporting it, because that's one place where Canadians can go to get a different point of view.
So, of course they're scared. They're blanketed with only one message. Al and I will be in touch. You're very precious to us. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Have a good day, Dennis.
Have you ever thought of going to seminary?
Billy Graham.
Gloria a Dios, hermanos. ¿Quién está listo para ser transformado por el poder de su palabra?
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
I grew up poor, which is even worse than being poor.
Our lunch consisted of whatever my mother could scrape together from the dinner the night before. We would have sandwiches with no meat.
My American dream entailed working hard and making $20,000 a year. But I surpassed that goal and became a corporate CEO. Put in an economic growth plan called 999.
We'll all be able to say, free at last, free at last.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Man, I miss my father, and I want him to be here with me, but he's not.
We all had something in common. A lot of us were miserable. We had no fathers in our lives.
This is how I began the life of crime. I desired to have a father who would tell me that what I did was wrong.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
I want you to think about this for a moment, what you just heard from Alain Lambert in Canada. It's a very common thing for Canadians to go to Florida during the winter. Look, it's common for people in the Northeast to go to Florida for the winter. This has been true all of my life. So they go from a place of lockdowns where you are not permitted to travel in any way except by horse or your own car if you are not vaccinated. You can't meet with more than 3 other people, including family coming from outside your house. They could live next door. They can't come into your house. Most Canadians support this. Then many will visit Florida, which is, of course, much freer than California. Go anywhere you want without a mask, nobody checks if you're vaccinated, and they're doing fine. Wouldn't you think that Canadians who visit Florida would enter what we call cognitive dissonance? When you believe X, but reality is Y, that's called cognitive dissonance. But they don't. That's what's amazing. And when they go back to their friends and they're not dead, they're not shipped back to Canada in a coffin. They actually enter a plane and walk off the plane as healthy as when they departed the lockdown called Canada. But this doesn't change anybody's mind. And they still visit. How do people in Canada who do that, or who know people who do that, not question whether the assault on freedom in Canada is worth it? 40% of kids 5 to 11 in Alberta, and presumably elsewhere in other provinces, are vaccinated, ages 5 to 11. How many kids 5 to 11 have died of COVID in Canada? 5? 3? 0? One wonders. Really, you just have to wonder. Is there hope for the human race, or is it just a roller coaster of a decent period of time and then darkness? It would appear to be the latter, but there's more light in this country.
Streaming on Salem Now.
There's about 57 Muslim states in the world. There's one Jewish state.
The massive ingathering of Jews in the last 150 years back to the land is absolutely unprecedented.
They say that there's no greater sign of redemption coming than the Jewish people returning to the hills of Judea.
As a Christian, I've always supported Israel's claim to the Holy Land. To me, the Palestinians were just getting in the way of God's plan.
300,000 Palestinians are unemployed.
In spite of all the years of conflict, there's hope here, if you know where to look for it.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store, or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
The public would be outraged if they knew the truth.
Why do you think our politicians are not on the sidewalk right now talking to you?
Don't have no respect.
The old wall randomly turns into a guardrail, followed by miles of open border.
Human trafficking.
That journey is extremely dangerous.
The 7-year-old girl died in the desert.
From the country of India.
A great pillar of the community was killed by a man who had been deported at least twice.
This little urn contains the ashes of my son. His dreams cut short forever.
We're so worried about other countries' problems, and we don't even focus on our own.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store, or go to salemnow.com.
Judge Thomas, do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. I was under constant attack. You're not really black because you're not doing what we expect black people to do. This is the wrong black guy. He has to be destroyed.
So you'd still like to serve on the Supreme Court?
I'd rather die than withdraw from the process.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Man, I miss my father, and I want him to be here with me, but he's not.
We all had something in common. A lot of us were miserable. We had no fathers in our lives.
This is how I began the life of crime. I desired to have a father who would tell me that what I did was wrong.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
Right. So this has changed in the culture. We now have entire stadiums screaming blank Joe Biden.
Right.
I actually think that in some measure this is a sign of health in the country.
I don't think you're wrong. In fact, my last column, I talk about in essence, what the American people are feeling in terms of how they're being treated by the current administration.
Now, excuse me, by the way, I'm not saying I approve of it.
Right.
It makes me uncomfortable.
Clearly.
But at the same time,
we're talking about what we're observing.
It seems like a strange sign of health that we feel free enough to say that.
Well, and I don't even know that we necessarily feel free. What I would say is that the American people feel like kind of a battered spouse at this point.
Okay, you wrote an article.
And that the administration is so abusive to how they're treating people that this reaction that you're seeing, and it started out in 2 college football stadiums. It's now been in dozens to hundreds.
It's the new wave.
NFL teams had it going on this week. Talladega or NASCAR or whatever they ran had people chanting it. There is something so inherently abusive about how people are being treated
by the government.
They are, and particularly in a society that wouldn't consider itself particularly Christocentric. And it is, I am actually thankful, to your point, to see a degree of we're not going to let this abuse continue, even if it's nothing more than using our freedom of speech to say something that's very vulgar and attach it to him. We're not taking it anymore.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at rumble.com.
This is why we're fighting for the soul of America.
You should be able to share ideas without fear of being fired from your job or shouted down.
You are not to be heard. This is one of the few things we have no precedent for in the United States.
You have the right to remain silent.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
The Democratic Party somehow has convinced black people that they're the good guys. Never mind the skanky history of the Democratic Party. That was a party of slavery. There is a whole big cottage industry for racism. If racism went away, a lot of people would be unemployed.
The mob during the Minneapolis riots following the death of George Floyd. A bunch of white thugs, frankly, burning down the city's traditional black and Asian business district.
They're racist. Everything's racist.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
The Democratic Party somehow has convinced black people that they're the good guys. Never mind the skanky history of the Democratic Party. That was a party of slavery.
They're racist. Everything's racist.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Don't you get tired of commercials screaming at you to buy gold now with inflated promises on future values? In an unregulated industry, you need honest, real experts to give you solid advice to protect your wealth and top picks on the best coins and bullion based on real-time data and historical trends. For example, as environmental policy becomes a hot topic, one precious metal that's been significantly undervalued for years is potentially set to surge. Nick Grovich, owner of AmFed Coin and Bullion, has long recommended this precious metal. Up to 600,000 ounces of this rare metal will be needed by 2030 to produce green hydrogen. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Dennis Prager. I have no idea why that happened. I do. Well, forget it. Welcome to the Male-Female Hour. Every Wednesday, the second hour of the program is devoted to the most honest talk about men and women. Last week, by the way, was a very powerful example of how open the talk was. It was about women and their breasts and the sexual nature of breasts. How many people talk about that on radio or anywhere else? Because it's anything that is sensitive in nature is avoided, lest the woke condemn you. If fear of God were as great as fear of the woke in this country, we would have a wonderful society. Be that as it may, it is the Male-Female Hour. I talk about everything about men and women. I am not a man fan and I am not a woman fan at all. I'm a good person fan. And I'm debating actually between two topics. And it's driving me crazy because they're both so good. But I think I'm going to go with this one. Do boys have men in their lives other than their father? You go to school and nearly all your teachers, at least until high school, your principal, your teachers are women. So I got a few questions. One, what men are in boys' lives, and not all fathers are in boys' lives, or in girls' lives. Girls need men. Girls need fathers. And, I just want to make it clear, if you're a single mother, the point is not to judge you. I do judge. I judge those who have decided that they don't want a man. They don't want to get married. They'll just have a child. That's a tough one. But that's not the issue. The issue is there are great single mothers. I married a single mother. Her children are spectacular. So I recognize that. Nevertheless, the overwhelming majority of human beings need a father, or a father figure at the very least. But that's not the issue specifically. The issue is what men are in kids' lives, given that all their teachers and increasingly other people, their doctor, even their clergy person may be female. But they don't have clergy people, so we'll leave that group out. What effect does that have? Do you even meditate on that? Hey, there are no men in my kids' lives. Only women. Now, so there are three possibilities. It's a good thing. It doesn't matter. It's not a good thing, right? There is no fourth possibility. What do you think? Have you thought about it? Do you think it's an issue? 1-8-PRAGER-776 877-243-7776. Well, I'll give you one aspect of the issue, was what I reported last hour about the Chicago Teachers Union, unless I missed today's news, which I might have. But as of yesterday, they voted to go on strike, and they're so, like in L.A. and other cities, they're overwhelmingly women in the teachers' unions. They're overwhelmingly headed by women. The National Education Association or the National Teachers, whatever it is, that's run by a woman. And they're scared. They are really scared of dropping dead, going to a class with kids who aren't going to infect them. Sweden kept its schools open for kids under 16 the entire 2020-2021. And to the best of my knowledge, nobody died. as a result of it. Nobody. Here's part of my question. If let us say that teachers' unions were 90% or whatever, I don't know what the percent is of women, say 85%. If they were 85% male, do you think the same amount of hypochondriac, paranoid fear, hysteria would be taking place in the teachers' unions? I don't know the answer, but the argument that it doesn't matter that there are no men in our kids' lives outside of, hopefully, and increasingly that is even not the case, a father, that I believe is something that people should be aware of and think about. When I went to school, half my teachers were male. I'm talking elementary school, but the reason that they were is, let me think about it. Yeah, well, there were far more male teachers when I went to school in general, and because I went to a religious school where half the day was religious subjects, in my case Judaism, and the other half secular subjects, all those who taught me religion were male because they were all rabbis. So they were all male. And it was a very, I didn't think of it consciously, but it's a very important thing for me as a boy. For one thing, it tells you that to be a man is to take whatever they're doing seriously. If only women teach, then maybe those subjects are women's subjects. That's the way a boy's mind works. Boys need to see male models. But if their principal is a female, nearly every teacher is a female. Who did I speak to? I think it was on the air. An elementary school teacher called the show, and he said he was the only male teacher in his school. Oh yeah, no, wasn't on the air. There's actually a man that I know. Yes, I was talking to a man who's an elementary school teacher, and it was shocking. I had not met a male elementary school teacher in decades. And he said he was the only one in his school. I mean, he's a collector's item. He loves his work. By the way, that too is an interesting subject. Men have entered the nursing profession. Why haven't they entered the teaching profession? I don't have an answer to that. If you have a theory, I'd be very curious. Why do men avoid teaching, especially elementary school? Is it not prestigious? Is that what it is? So it's not masculine? It's women's work? But as I said, nursing has stopped to be women's work. Flight attendants stopped being women's work. But not teaching. And by the way, the irony is it was men's work for much of American history, as well as women's work. Even high school teacher. I would like to know the ratio of female to male high school teachers as well. I'm specifically referring to elementary school. But the issue of no men in boys' lives is a very serious issue. That's the subject I want to address during this male-female hour. 1-8-Prager 776-877-243-7776. I don't have an answer to my question. I often ask questions and then give you my theory as to an answer, but in this case I have zero, other than maybe working with children is not considered very male-like, which is unfortunate. Don't you get tired of commercials screaming at you to buy gold now with inflated promises on future values? In an unregulated industry, you need honest, real experts to give you solid advice to protect your wealth and top picks on the best coins and bullion based on real-time data and historical trends. For example, as environmental policy becomes a hot topic, one precious metal that's been significantly undervalued for years is potentially set to surge. Nick Grovich, owner of AmFed Coin and Bullion, has long recommended this precious metal. Up to 600,000 ounces of this rare metal will be needed by 2030 to produce green hydrogen. Nick is doubling down on this pick, and you should too. Call Nick at AmFed Coin and Bullion to find out more. I've been friends with Nick for years, and he's my go-to guy when it comes to coins and bullion. I trust him. He is a good and very knowledgeable man. Call Nick at 800-221-7694, 800-221-7694, AmericanFederal.com, AmericanFederal.com. Not one mistake.
Trending now on The Charlie Kirk Show.
When there is a clash on the left between separate preferred activist groups, who gets preference? Who wins? Now, on the left, they have a hierarchy. Not any different than a hierarchy that you'd have in any sort of organization. You see, when the left has a moment of disagreement or conflict, it is very important to realize that there is a structure of what matters more than something else. I wrote a piece for humanevents.com where I wrote, it was literally called, "This Matters More Than That." Now, a great example of this is when Fauci, the lockdown artist, the anti-freedom activist, mad scientist, who is the best example of the technological and scientific elite that the left worships. When he was even confronted by a talk show host where they asked Fauci, they said, "So do you think that young people should stop hooking up via Tinder and basically having very promiscuous relationships?" And Fauci said, "Well, you have to understand there's some risk to that." He didn't denounce it because he understood that if he came out against promiscuous behavior for young people, there'd be a revolution.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today.
I think this family can pick you up every time you fall.
Every time I take one step forward.
When Wright came in this morning, he wants to fight you.
No one expected this out of him.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Male-female hour, second hour every Wednesday, Dennis Prager Show. Do kids meet men? That's my question. Since virtually all of their teachers, if not all their teachers, at least through high school, and most in high school as well, are female, their doctors are increasingly female. Increasingly, fathers are not at home. So where are the men in kids' lives? So I asked, why don't men enter the teaching profession? And they do enter college teaching, after all. Well, that's right. So Sean said there's a stigma about men who want to work with young children. You mean there might be a bad reason? They might abuse them? No, I don't. Yeah, I don't believe that one. That's. I'm sorry, that's absurd. I'm not saying you're saying it, but it's absurd. What is very possible is one you offered during the break, and that is that there isn't much money in it, and men seek higher paying professions. I don't know if that's true, but that may be true. I don't know what do teachers make in big cities. You want to look that up? Look that up. Tell me, what is the average salary, not beginning salary, the average salary after 5 years, let's say, of a big city elementary school teacher or high school teacher? And anyway, that might be a factor. But whatever, that's part of my subject. My bigger subject is the impact of the paucity of men on children. Okay, let's see here. Maria in Hudson, Wisconsin. I know Hudson, Wisconsin. Aren't you right over the Minnesota border?
Yes, we're right on the Twin City border.
Yes, I actually spoke there last year. Hi.
I know. I'm the one who helped bring you.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah. So my husband, Jeff, who you met at that Hudson event, is a high school hockey boys coach. He's been coaching for 29 years, high school kids. Before that, he was in L.A. as an elementary teacher and a PE teacher. And his philosophy is to help young boys become men, good men. And he benches them if they play selfishly. If they retaliate, he'll bench them. He teaches them self-control, hard work, and good teamwork. And so I believe that coaches, good male coaches, make a difference in boys' lives.
Boy, is that a good call, and is that true? And say hello to the person you know. Yes, sports is a very important thing. Of course, most boys are not on a team. I mean, that's just by definition. But that's right. The coaches, managers of teams, that's a biggie. I thank you for that. Average 2022 teacher salary. Well, all right, so... Flip the page. Oh, here we go. All right. So let me say, in California, wow. Holy crow. So it can't be money. All right, I don't think it's the money. California, the average salary, let me get this, is this elementary school? Is this high school? Or is it irrelevant? I guess it's just public school. Anyway, California, $82,282. The Chicago teachers are on strike. Doesn't have it by city. But in Illinois, $66,600. I have to think that a lot of... this is higher than the median salary in the United States. The average teacher, $61,700. And by the way, it's not like they're overworked. They get an entire summer vacation, months, that when they can, of course, earn more money. They could do something else. And it's not like their day is a very long day either. They could easily do something else. So I think this sort of disqualifies the money issue as why men don't go into it. Okay, Gabriel, San Jose, California. Hello.
How are you doing?
Well.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, sorry about that. I just walked into the office.
Don't worry about
just to comment. Great topic for the day. Mm-hmm. Excellent topic.
Thank you.
Men in general, I think just for what your talking point for the last second was, why don't men go into teaching? I think, I don't know if it's true, but what I feel is men aren't general extroverts. They're introverts. until they get into sports or a music class or something. They may branch out. But even as a young age, they look for father figures if they don't have a male in the home. I grew up without a male. My mother was she was a lesbian, or still is. We moved in with that family, her partner, and they had a boy and a girl. So I had a stepbrother to grow up with and be men and go run about the streets, jump on our skateboards, do fun things. And as I grew up, because I didn't have a father to call for certain questions, I started collecting father figures. When I was traveling, I looked up to men of business. And I would ask them tons of questions, and they would always, take me under their wing. Even still today, I have a gentleman who has taken me under his wing. I'm at 44 years old, just now started my business last year. And it's growing because of him, because of the advice and the time that he takes just to help me become more as a man.
So as a kid, did you consciously seek out men?
I kind of did, like teachers. I had probably about 3 male teachers in elementary and junior high. And then in high school, woodshop. That was he was a male, so I kind of looked up to him.
Starting at about what age did you seek men?
I would say it was about 10.
Okay.
10, 11.
So, how did you relate to your 2 mothers?
Well, my mom was a police officer, so she was black and white. It is what it is. Here's the truth. So that kind of kept me grounded a little bit. But my reaction to them was just ladies. They were just ladies. I didn't understand what it was.
Are you married?
About it. I didn't question them. Yes.
Well, I'm glad to hear from you. I ought to do an hour on that. Boys who grew up with 2 mothers. We will do an hour on that. And likewise, girls who grew up with 2 fathers. Back in a moment.
Trending now on The Larry Elder Show.
Good. Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure.
I'm a green card holder, have been for 20 years.
Thank you. From where?
When I first from South Africa.
Excellent. Thank you.
When I came into this country, I had to have blood tests to see that I didn't have syphilis, gonorrhea, HIV. I had to show all kinds of vaccinations. I had to show means to be able to support myself, et cetera, et cetera. So my point being is that the law is not being upheld as we understand it. And so I don't understand how they are circumnavigating the law again. I mean, obviously allowing these people into the country in the first place without proper vetting, etc., is one of the ways. But I mean, the laws are written for legal immigration. There are methods and ways of doing it. They say the system is broken, but it's not broken. It functions.
Greg, I am deeply in your debt. Stay where you are because I've got a couple of questions for you, but just an addendum to your magnificent remarks. The system is not broken. We totally have a system that is set up to work if the laws that are on the books will only be enforced. But that's a huge if, and they are being intentionally ignored. So 20 years you've been here, right? And as someone who's actually followed the law, share with me a couple of minutes of your experience on whether it was too easy, too hard, or just right.
I think it was just right.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com.
Streaming on Salem Now.
The Democratic Party somehow has convinced black people that they're the good guys. Never mind the skanky history of the Democratic Party. That was a party of slavery.
He said, listen, I gotta give these niggas enough. Not too much, but enough that I have them voting Democrat for the next 200 years.
The race grievance industry would have you believe that blacks get up and think about nothing else except race.
If I tell you this is racist, yeah, I'm gonna get you emotional.
There is a whole big cottage industry for racism. If racism went away, a lot of people would be unemployed.
The mob during the Minneapolis riots following the death of George Floyd. A bunch of white thugs, frankly, burning down the city's traditional black and Asian business district.
They're racist, 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 racist. Everything's racist.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
That's what we do. Hi, everybody. Male-female hour, Wednesday, second hour. Men in boys' lives, are they there, given that virtually all elementary school teachers and maybe most high school teachers are female? A lot of boys don't grow up with a father in their life, certainly very many where it's not full-time. So do they have men in their lives? Does it matter? Etc., etc. Okay, let's see here. Mark is a teacher, Sarasota, Florida. Hello.
Hi, Dennis.
Hi.
Nice to speak with you.
Thank you.
First of all, I do want to say, as a teacher, I do use your PragerU videos in my classroom, and excited to see the Prager kids coming up. Some great stuff, especially to use in the classroom. Thank you very much.
Thank you. How do your students react?
Very well to it. It's, a lot of the stuff that I have access to is very much biased on the liberal side, and it's nice to have another viewpoint to use in the classroom.
Yep, I wish every teacher did that. Any honorable teacher would do that. Hey, folks, there are two sides, and we could debate them. That's what an honest teacher would do. Thank you for doing it. Go ahead.
Exactly what I do in the classroom.
Right. Mm-hmm.
A couple of questions. One, you were asking about teacher pay, and is that an issue? I'll be right out front with you. I make $52,000 a year in Florida. Our governor graciously had started teacher salary this year at $47,500, so that can kind of give you the idea. I'm not really in it for the money.
That's clear.
But I've been teaching for 17 years.
Wow.
And I do think it's important that the students do have a male role model. Many of them don't have that, and as much as half of my students, they don't have a father in the home.
Mm-hmm. So you realize how healthy you are being in their lives?
I do. And not to blow my own horn or anything, but I do recognize that, and I do think it's important, and especially in the teaching profession, there is a lot of liberal bias, no question about it. And try to be the counterpart to that in the classroom.
Do you get flack for doing that?
It's necessary. No, I don't. I tell you why. Well, one of the reasons I've taught for 10 years in the mainstream district schools. 6 years ago, I started teaching in a charter school, which does have some control by the state, but does give us a lot more flexibility. So I'm going to, kind of shout out to any of the teachers out there. Look at charter schools as an option, or private schools if you can do it.
I'm just curious. Are you married?
Yes. And in fact, I did marry a single mother of 2 children. And my wife continually tells me what a huge influence, positive influence.
I love your wife for telling you that. So does she work as well?
She does, but she, once we were married and we were both kind of settled into our marriage, we agreed that she would stay home and raise the children, and I would be the provider.
You have a family of 4 on $52,000 a year.
I had a family of 4 at $35,000 a year.
So do you live in a suburb of Sarasota? Do you rent an apartment? How do you live?
No. I did live in I lived in a suburb of Sarasota called Palmetto. My wife and I both at the time were making about the same salary, and we acknowledged that we needed to pay off our house. I did own a house. We paid it off within 4 years, and being financially responsible, it's possible.
That's why I'm asking you this. I want people to hear this, because I beg people to take their kids out of schools that are woke and homeschool if necessary, and look at what you live on. You're a model. You and your wife have done you will be rewarded, because you will probably have healthy kids who become healthy adults. It's another great subject. Those of you who've chosen to have a parent at home, how have you managed the financial sacrifice? Good topic. ReliefFactor.com, 800-500-8384. I have said on many occasions, I'm honestly puzzled, just puzzled, why you wouldn't try it. It costs $19.95 to try it for 3 weeks, because the manufacturers of it, say if it doesn't work in 3 weeks, it probably won't work. Don't keep trying. I mean, you can, but you don't have to, because basically it doesn't work if it doesn't work in 3 weeks. So try it for $19.95. But what if it does work? Look at what people wrote at ReliefFactor.com, 800-500-8384.
Streaming on Salem Now.
You're out of your mind if you think this family can pick you up every time you fall.
Every time I take one step forward, seems like I fall.
Boy, Dylan Wright came in this morning. He wants to fight you.
Never say die, gonna give it all.
This is your opportunity to get back on your feet.
This is my time. Won't quit, I've just begun.
You gotta know who it is you're fighting for. That's the fight, Bo.
I can't believe I'm saying it, that Bo Lawson can go 10 years without a competitive fight, and here he is going toe-to-toe with the world champion. No one expected this out of him.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Don't you get tired of commercials screaming at you to buy gold now with inflated promises on future values? In an unregulated industry, you need honest, real experts to give you solid advice to protect your wealth and top picks on the best coins and bullion based on real-time data and historical trends. For example, as environmental policy becomes a hot topic, one precious metal that's been significantly undervalued for years is potentially set to surge. Nick Rovich, owner of AmFed Coin and Bullion, has long recommended this precious metal. Up to 600,000 ounces of this rare metal will be needed by 2030 to produce green hydrogen. Nick is doubling down on this pick, and you should too. Call Nick at AmFed Coin and Bullion to find out more. I've been friends with Nick for years, and he's my go-to guy when it comes to coins and bullion. I trust him. He is a good and very knowledgeable man. Call Nick at 800-221-7694, 800-221-7694, AmericanFederal.com, AmericanFederal.com. Well, everybody, this is the male-female hour. Do kids have men in their lives, given that virtually every teacher in elementary school is a female, most in high school are female, their doctor may be a female, so what males do they meet unless there's a dad in their lives? And that's just a question. And some may even say it doesn't matter, like feminist line, a woman without a man is like a fish without a bicycle. Maybe a kid without a man is also like a fish without a bicycle. Since fish don't need bicycles, kids don't need men. But that's not my position, of course. They need men tremendously. And why aren't men teaching in elementary schools? Money might be an answer, but I don't think so, because I read to you some salaries. I mean, I can't believe it. In California, $82,000 a year. I mean, and again, I note all the time off where you can either go fishing or actually make more money. Okay, let's see here. Jack, Greenville, South Carolina. Hello.
Hello, Dennis. How are you?
Very well. Thank you.
Good. So I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago in a smaller, about 150 size evangelical Christian church. And I've got to say I'm incredibly thankful for the men in that church because, you know, to be honest, and when I compare myself to, or I look around at my contemporaries, I had other men in my life that I was accountable to. So, you know, even when I was young and growing, you know, I wasn't just with the kids at school. I knew there were other men in my life who cared about the decisions that I made, and I wanted to not only honor them, but also, you know, respect kind of their influence that they had in my life.
Well, you make a very important point. It's another reason for organized religion in our society. Same with me, growing up Jewish. as I noted, I went to a yeshiva, which is a religious school, half the day in Hebrew, religious subjects half the day in English, secular subjects, long day, 9 to 5. And that was through the end of high school, so till I was 18. And I'd say 95% of my teachers in the religious subjects were male. The rabbi of my synagogue was male. It was a very good thing because it told me that God and religion are not just for women. Boys need male models. Girls need female models, but I don't think quite as much. It's not, you see, the irony is people say, oh, that's sexist. Well, if it's sexist, it's anti-male. That's the irony, what I just said. But that's a little too deep for the folks on the left. Okay, let's see here. Hannah in Chicago, hello.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hi. So I have been listening to your show on Wednesdays because I happen to have an appointment and I'm in the car. And today I felt compelled to call because I'm the mother of 7 boys.
So what are you, evangelical, Catholic, Orthodox, Jew, or Mormon?
Evangelical, I would say, but I've been doing a lot of reading about Orthodoxy. So, yeah.
Very good. Go on. So you have 7 children and you're 29?
I am 39.
39. What do I have here?
I have 8 children.
Oh, my mistake. Yeah, you're 39. Okay, you have 8 children?
I'm 39. I have 1 daughter and 7 sons.
Oh, my God. That is testosterone city you live in.
Definitely. Definitely. So, we are extremely blessed. Both of my husbands and my parents are alive, so we have grandfathers. Both my husband and I are oldest of large families, so we have uncles for our sons. And, so they live in we actually live in a multi-generational house. My in-laws and the 10 of us are all in the same home. So they have familial male, interaction. But I felt like I should call because it's the males outside of the home that are providing the opportunities for my sons to become men. Mm-hmm. We did it with them as little kids. I helped my kids learn to sweep the floor. My husband was there to back up. Hey, you didn't listen to your mom. Here's some consequence. You're going to have to sweep the floor before you go to bed. You don't get to go to bed until, that kind of thing. So they needed my husband to back me up when they were little, elementary age, when I was teaching them how to be responsible. But it's the opportunity. So my oldest son, he's a freshman. He started working for a man when he was 12 in his yard during the summer. And this retired man is just wonderful. He
right. All right. We don't need the details, but it's important to know that. So they have your family males and non-family males. So it's obviously great.
And it's the non-family males.
Before I say goodbye to you, I want you to tell me the names of the 7 boys.
Nathan, Paul, Caleb, Bryce, Winton, Edwin, and Gail.
How's Winton doing?
He's doing great.
Great. Hey, listen, this was special. That's how I test. You can call up and tell me you have 12 kids. I may ask you their names. You better rattle them off. Here's I didn't test her. Does she know their birthdays? I know my 2 boys' birthdays, but it's much easier to know 2 than 8. Back in a moment.
Antichrist when the Spirit of God comes.
You ever thought of going to seminary?
Billy Graham.
Gloria a Dios, hermanos. ¿Quién está listo para ser transformado por el poder de su palabra?
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
I grew up poor, which is even worse than being poor.
Our lunch consisted of whatever my mother could scrape together from the dinner the night before. We would have sandwiches with no meat.
My American dream entailed working hard and making $20,000 a year. But I surpassed that goal and became a corporate CEO. Put in an economic growth plan called 999.
We'll all be able to say, free at last, free at last.
Hello, y'all. I'm Dennis Prager. The topic of the Male-Female Hour, which is every Wednesday, second hour today, is where are the men and boys' lives, given that the overwhelming majority, maybe 90%, I'm just assuming, of elementary school teachers are female, and at least 50%, maybe 60 or 70% in high school as well. And a lot of boys don't have dads in their lives. So let me summarize your calls. Please don't hang up, because then I can't see what you wanted to say. At least I get your idea if I don't get to talk to you. All right, Dan in San Antonio. It was important to me when I grew up to have coaches as role models. This is a big factor in a lot of your calls, how sports gives boys a father figure in the coach. I might add that many men say to me that I am a father figure to them. They may even be very close to my age and say that, which is fine. I think it's a wonderful thing, and I've said all of my life, every male should aspire to be a role model to younger men. Billy in Philadelphia, public schools don't welcome male teachers. That's interesting. That's an interesting thought. I never thought of that. Doug in Okemos, Michigan. Neighbor who has a boy on a basketball team asked me to volunteer to coach. That's a good thing for men to do. Sonny, Harleysville, Pennsylvania. I'm a youth pastor. Men don't really like small kids under the age of 16. That may not be silly. I think that there's a factor there. Men are not drawn to little kids as much as women are. I think that's true. I didn't think of that. I should have. But it's something great for them to do. Ken in Atlanta, Georgia, retired elementary school teacher. They would put behavior problem boys in my class, and that helped a lot. That's right. That's exactly right. Fred thinks fear of sexual accusations inhibits men. I maybe it does, but I don't. I don't know if that's true. But maybe it's right. And Tim in Minneapolis, thank you all for calling and sharing these thoughts. In my Bible commentary, the Rational Bible, in the beginning of Genesis, I explain why God is depicted in male terms. I think my commentary is worth it for that essay alone. It's called The Rational Bible. I hope you'll read it.